Sexy. We just wrapped up the 9 a.m. turn. Yeah, okay. So whenever you play GBACW with all the chit pulls and the mechanics of the game, um, if you are in contact with the enemy and you're, if it's just in one little section or something like that, it's not too. I don't want to use the word painful, but it gets drawn out a little more because there's a lot more, like I said, there's a lot more mechanics to what you're doing. So when you're in contact along a broad front, your progression is a little slower when you're trying to accomplish a turn. Now, in its wonderful works, its wonderful mechanics, when you're, like Bragg activates with their command. The command chips. You have chits for each of the divisions, but in most of this game, you're using these. They're just bigger command chips. Like instead of each one of Bragg's divisions using theirs. If you're playing like the first day, I think some of the second day scenarios you use the divisional chits, but you use these for Bragg's command, and so you're doing the entire both divisions for Bragg when you do that. But you're doing it at a brigade at a time. You still adhere to the rules of activation, okay? But you're moving, you're firing, you're getting return fire, you're retreating, you're disorganizing, you're taking step losses, you're causing step losses, you're going into extended line, you're coming out of extended line, you're going into march and extended column. So you're gonna miss them, all right? I constantly miss some of the subtleties of the game, and then you got in every system people do this, and then sometimes you'll miss. There'll be little detailed rules that are even deeper down that you're going to miss, and if you say you don't, then I don't think you're playing war games. I think you're just imagining something. But regardless, GBACW is my favorite system, and I love to play these drawn out fights like this. Well, we just finished 9 a.m. And so far, it has been all of Johnny Reb having his way. Not completely. I mean, Sherman's beat up pretty bad. But, oh yeah. Oh, before I get on to this. So somebody saw something I did not pay attention to. When I was rolling for the Roar of the Battle, I was doing it for the whole division. And it turns out you do it individually for each brigade. Well, you know what? It's too late for Hurlbutt and McClernand because they're already up here. But I'd only had one activation on Wallace, and they were still down at the intersections around where they started from. So what I did was when I started their next activation, I rolled individually, and it turns out two of the three brigades are still coming to where I originally rolled. But the third one, and this is kind of a half and half plus for the Union because not enough force to defend over here. Or I'm sorry, let me back out because I zoomed in for Sherman here. So not enough force over here to stop this long line of Polk. But at least one of the brigades from Wallace is headed that way. Granted, they're going to be out of command unless he can get a big long burst down one of these main roads if the Confederates don't cut it, which right now they haven't cut this main road yet here, right in front of the Hornet's Nest there. So it's been all a big push up until, with the exception for over here where Sherman. He's held okay. Shiloh Church is sitting right here underneath him. They haven't given that up yet. Cleburne has just not been able to apply enough mass pressure on Sherman to get him out of here. And I think there's only one more turn, let's see, where the Union suffers the bad routing thing. I got to check that because I could be wrong. It could be over starting with the 10 a.m. turn. But I think it's still one more turn where they suffer a penalty and the possibility of routing, in which when you route, you're off the map until you get to recovery. So we've already got two leaders running. One from Sherman, that you can't see, is running back to try to, I think it's was Hildebrand. He's trying to get back here somewhere, and hopefully I can keep Sherman. He is in range, so Sherman will be able to put him into reserve mode reserve, so that he can hopefully recover some stuff. And Prentice can reach. Well, he might not be able to reach Peabody's over there. So, I mean, the 6th Tennessee, 6th Division of the Army of Tennessee, that's what's left. That purple stuff. And you got a regiment coming up from down there that's going to get assigned. And they got one over here that's out of ammo, or low on ammo. I'm going to get ammo back in them. And these are the guys that are going to face the brunt of Polk coming around that flank over there. And he got into march mode. Problem is the pike or the main major road ends like right in here somewhere, so then it becomes slow after that. Maybe 1 hex per movement point, and sometimes even less. So, and we're getting Breckinridge in here. He's coming in and closing down behind and between Hardee and Bragg here in the middle. So we're going to start getting him into his sort of lines of battle formation, so that if we can get a pocket in here, because look. You've got McClernand and you've got Hurlbut. Prentice is a mess. 1 brigade from Wallace is coming up. 2 brigades from Wallace coming up here. Sherman's about 50%. So if the Confederates can bust up some of this stuff right in here, there's not going to be nothing for a while to come in here and cover this. All right. Now, McClernand and Hurlbut have already reached their point of roar of defense, so they can now maneuver as needed. Okay, Wallace cannot do that yet. All right, so I think the Confederates, you see the fatigue starting to build. They need to. The last activation I had for Bragg and Hardee were the only combat was right here. Yeah, on their last activations. And then it was all trying to recover. They had a lot of disrupted units, and I got to get them recovered to get them back in the fight. So I'm thinking with this next turn, if somebody's fortunate enough to have 4 activations, you're going to see heavy fatigue markers on these, because knowing the Battle of Shiloh and what's going to happen later on, the Confederates need to make all the hay they can right now. All right, I'm even stretching the fatigue over there on Polk, moving around the flank, pushing them as hard as I can. I pushed all 4 activations in march order for them. So, and they were still staying on roads, but once you do that 4th one, they start to fatigue. So I think this next turn, this 10 a.m. turn, I tell you what, I'm not going to lie to you. I am impressed that I have gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm in the 6 turns of this game. Most of the time, the casualties I take are usually 1s. But you might get a 1 with a disorder on a unit that's already disordered, then he's going to suffer a 2nd one. And in the case of the Union one, it's been, once they retreat, they're rolling for rout. I mean, you're talking full-strength units with 600 men or 700 men just rout off the board after taking 1 hit because of the rout rule, because they were surprised. And, not all these troops are super veterans yet or anything, right? And it goes the same thing on the Confederate side too. Morale's a little better on the Confederate side. Getting artillery shots in here, it's tough, but you can do it. You got to watch these elevations. Remember the canopy rule, and remember you can still shoot through 1 hex, because while these things, there's a lot of woods down here, the undergrowth in these things was a little wider open. This is not the wilderness. Wasn't easy, but this is not the wilderness, okay? So there you have the situation. Grant has come on the board way down yonder, down there. Got off his boat, scratching his head. What the hell's going on? 12 cigars in his pockets. And he's going to go figure out what's happening up here. Not how much use he's going to be, but he's here now. And, I think this next turn is going to be a major key to this fight, because if the Confederates cannot apply enough pressure and break open some of this Union front here, some of these frontline brigades that have been in action since 6 or 7 a.m. this morning are going to have to somewhat retire to try to recover, and hopefully Breckinridge can fill in the void there. Right now, again, keep in mind that McClernand and Hurlbut are just now getting into the fray. They've taken a couple bumps already, and Wallace is on his way up. Don't know how much, with them being split like that. First, they got to get up there. And and they got to reach their points of the roar defense points before they can start responding. Which I don't know what's going to happen over here because that one brigade's got to come up here. Pretty sure Polk's going to get there first. All right. All right, well, there you go. Into the Woods, Great Battles of American Civil War, Dick Whitaker's creation. We're rocking this thing. Haven't taken it down, and we're going to keep on driving. I really want to see what the end of the first day looks like. All right, let's get this up so y'all see what Hexy's been doing.